The guest brought a cherished piece of jewelry with a rich family history. The item had originally belonged to the guest's grandmother and was passed down to her mother when the guest was about 12 years old.
I took it to a jeweler and tried to get it appraised, and I had noticed that it said Marcus and Company on the back.
Right.
And I thought back then it was part of Neiman Marcus.
The appraiser then provided some historical context about Marcus and Company.
It was a father and son that started it, and they had a place in Manhattan, one of the prominent jewelers of the time.
The piece, featuring diamonds and exceptionally well-preserved emeralds, was particularly impressive, given that emeralds are relatively soft and prone to damage over time.
And it's done in platinum, and it's got brilliant cut diamonds, and it's very desirable. They still make Tutti Frutti style carvings to this day.
Oh, really?
But the original artifact, which you have here from the Art Deco era, is awesome. It's beautiful.
The guest revealed that the piece had been stored safely in her home and was only brought out for special occasions, such as birthdays. Given its condition and current market trends, the piece's value was estimated at.
I believe now that if you were to have this in a nice high-end retail jewelry store, it'd be around $25,000. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's fantastic news.
The guest shared the story of her husband's grandfather's special discovery.
This is a postcard of my husband Harry's grandfather, whose name was Harry. He was named after him. And he's right here along with two of his brothers. They were farmers. They played on the Grange baseball team. My Harry bought his grandfather's house in Littleton and then discovered these in one of the trunks.
The impressive item consisted of an extraordinary find, a full set of 6 1911 M110 Sporting Life cabinet cards. The appraiser explained that the cards were issued by Sporting Life magazine to promote readership by showcasing famous baseball players of the era.
These are about as rare a cards as you'll find. We've got Ty Cobb, Frank Chance, Larry LeJoie, Christy Mathewson, Hal Chase, and Honus Wagner.
However, the players were depicted in generic, unbranded uniforms, since the cards weren't officially affiliated with any specific baseball teams. These cards are particularly rare and collectible due to their lithographic pastel illustrations and limited distribution. The appraiser carefully examined the cards for condition, focusing on the edges, corners, creases, and the quality of the cardstock. The rarity and completeness of the set made it highly valuable. The appraiser estimated that the collection could be insured for up to.
If you were to insure this, you could insure for up to $100,000.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay. Never thought that. Okay.
Yeah.
The guest brought a significant and rare print for appraisal, a work by Dutch artist M.C. Escher titled Plain Filling 1. Along with the print was a handwritten letter from Escher himself, addressed to the guest's grandfather, dated 1953 and written on Escher's personal letterhead.
It's on his letterhead. We're also fortunate to have a friend who spoke a little Dutch tell us that this last line refers to having met your grandfather at an exhibition. A wonderful provenance.
The appraiser was especially struck by the uniqueness of this find.
It's typical Escher, but it's also a little unusual, which makes it special. Usually in Escher, you have the repeating forms of the same object. So a fish will interlock with another fish and a repeating pattern. Here we have this wonderful menagerie of creatures. But what's unusual is it's not the same repeated pattern. And Escher was actually experimenting here because he really wanted to try to do one of his forms with different objects, different shapes that would interlock. And there's 6 different forms on each side. So you have 36 different pieces.
Okay.
Not only was the print signed and numbered, but the inclusion of the original letter was rare and added both authenticity and historical depth. The print, created in 1951, predated the letter and served as an early example of Escher's experimentation with mezzotint, an elaborate printmaking technique developed during the Renaissance.
By the structure of the print. So mezzotint is an ancient printmaking technique developed in the late Renaissance where the copper plate was burnished so it would print completely black. Mezzotint rock would mark up the plate with little pits.
While the original purchase price was unknown, the appraiser estimated its current auction value to be
So at auction today, with a conservative estimate, I would put this at $20,000 to $30,000.
Wow. That's impressive.
And I would put the letter at about $400 to $600,
All right.
just for the Escher collectors. But I'm sure it's not going to be separated from this print. It's been with your family now for 3 generations.
And we planned for the 4th.
This treasured piece of art had graced the family's living room since the early 1980s.
My parents bought this, I believe, in the early 80s from a gallery.
The appraiser identified the artist as John Quick to See Smith, a prominent Native American artist.
Quick to See Smith. She was born in the 1940s in Montana. She's a native artist of French, Cree, Shoshone, and Salish blood.
The work represented was an original monotype print, a type of printmaking in which the artist paints on a smooth surface and then presses it onto paper. This particular piece was a ghost print, meaning it was pulled a second time from the same painted surface, resulting in a lighter, more ethereal image.
And then she accentuated it. You can see paint applied in the dotted areas, and then other details. It's a double matted frame, so I really can't tell what kind of paper it's on, but it could be a really important archival.
Although the paper type could not be determined due to the matting, it may be archival quality, suggesting a careful and deliberate presentation. The appraiser emphasized Smith's growing prominence and noted that although the piece was technically a print, it was an original and unique work of art. If brought to market today, the estimated value would be...
If this was to come to market today, it would sell for between $30,000 and $60,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Her paintings have jumped. They've gone into the 6 figures.
The guest shared a deeply cherished painting that she and her husband had purchased from a Denver gallery in the 1980s, about 40 years ago. It was identified as the work of Charles Partridge Adams, a prolific painter of Western American landscapes.
And he was born in 1858 in Massachusetts and moved to Colorado when he was 18.
Adams began his career working in a Denver bookstore, where he caught the attention of the co-owner's wife, an artist trained under George Inness. He held his first exhibition in 1886 and opened his first studio in 1893.
He also started spending the summers in Estes Park and painting there. And one thing he figured out when he did establish a studio is that if he painted in watercolor, those paintings tended to sell a little bit faster because they were less expensive.
The painting the guest brought was a classic oil-on-canvas landscape, likely dating from 1900 to 1920. The appraiser praised not only the color palette, which the guest had also highlighted, but also the visible brushwork and surface texture, hallmarks of Adams' expressive style. Today, the appraiser estimated that if the painting were offered in a retail gallery, it could fetch around.
If we were to offer this in a retail gallery now, the asking price might be around $50,000.
Well, that's always encouraging and nice to hear, but I love having it in my own house.
An exquisite artwork tied to an iconic figure in pop art was displayed, accompanied by a personal family story dating back to the early 1950s.
I have a print by Andy Warhol that was a birthday present to my great-uncle Clint. My uncle is from Abilene, Texas. In 1951 or so, he went out to New York City because he was an artist, and he went out there to do window treatments for places at like Bonwit Teller. And while he was doing that, he met Andy Warhol, and they became good friends.
The artwork was a gold leaf-embellished shoe drawing given by artist Andy Warhol as a birthday gift to the guest's great-uncle. The piece bore a handwritten Happy Birthday Clint message in the corner, making it a personal, original artwork rather than a print. The appraiser identified it as a pen and ink drawing with gold leaf and collage, part of a series Warhol created in the mid-1950s. The piece was dated to around 1955 to 1956, during the time of Warhol's Golden Slipper Show at the Bodley Gallery, which featured 40 similar works.
So this is a series that he did, and they were very popular. And many of them were dedicated to various celebrities. So, for example, Zsa Zsa Gabor. He did an amazing one with all kinds of flourishes because of her jazzy personality and her elaborate clothing. He even did one of a swashbuckler's boot for Elvis Presley that had sort of erotic undertones.
At that point in his career, Warhol was gaining recognition, already known for his shoe-themed glamour magazine spread. His shoe drawings were whimsical yet intricately crafted, blending commercial appeal with fine art elements like embossed foil, gold leaf, and elegant calligraphy. Given its desirability, the appraiser delivered a stunning valuation.
If this work were in a gallery, I think it would sell somewhere in the neighborhood of $125,000.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow, that's incredible. Oh my God.
The guest shared a deeply personal story about a watercolor painting purchased by her parents.
My parents purchased it at the Hyde Park Art Fair. 1963, could have been 64, but I do think it was 63. And it was hanging on their walls for my entire childhood. And then when they both passed away, it came down to us.
After inheriting it, she reached out to the artist via email.
And I wrote to him, and he was kind enough to write back. I sent him a picture of an email of the art, and he wrote to me about it and told me a bit about it, which was wonderful.
The appraiser identified the piece as a watercolor by Wadsworth Jarrell, a notable African-American artist born in 1929 in Georgia and later active in Chicago.
Wadsworth Jarrell was a co-founder of AfriCobra, which was founded in Chicago in 1968. AfriCobra actually stands for African Commune of Bad, Relevant Artists. He's still alive. He was born in 1929, but he's still with us.
Amazing, almost, okay.
In his 90s. Yeah.
Although the painting was unsigned, the artist's written acknowledgement served as confirmation of its authenticity. Jarrell's style is vivid and powerful, characterized by bold colors and themes rooted in cultural and political expression. This particular work features jazz legends Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie, further enhancing its cultural and historical value. The artwork was regarded as possessing both deep personal significance and exceptional artistic merit. Impressed by the painting's provenance and the artist's importance, the appraiser assigned an insurance value of.
But a painting like this, I think I would put an insurance value of $75,000.
Oh my God. $75,000?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. It is. It's wonderful. It's worth it. It is worth it. It's a wonderful painting, and we're very grateful.
This cherished watercolor painting had been part of the guest's family home for her entire life. The artwork featured Officer Pup, a character from George Herriman's beloved comic strip Crazy Cat. The appraiser provided historical context about George Herriman, who was born in 1880 to Creole parents.
When he was 10 years old, they moved out to Los Angeles, where he looked for work. He dabbled in a whole bunch of different cartoons and then hit on Crazy Cat, which ran from 1913 to 1944.
This particular painting was notable for its subject, Officer Pup, one of 3 recurring characters in Crazy Cat.
Characters are real important. Crazy Cat was a pretty simple strip. It had 3 characters. You had Crazy Cat, Ignatz Mouse, and you had Officer Pup. Ignatz's goal in life was to hit Crazy Cat with a brick. Crazy Cat thought that was a sign of affection and wanted to get hit with a brick, and Officer Pup was there to stop the whole thing from going on.
The condition of the watercolor was excellent, but what elevated the piece even further was the original frame, crafted by Herriman himself. In the appraiser's experience, original frames by Herriman were exceptionally rare. He had only ever seen one other. Given its quality, provenance, and the uniqueness of the frame, the appraiser estimated the artwork's auction value to be.
At auction, I would easily estimate this between $25,000 and $35,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great piece. Had Crazy and Ignatz been in it, you could have jumped that up quite a bit.
This historic U.S. Navy dress sword had belonged to a distant relative of the guest. The appraiser provided a detailed overview of the guest's acquaintance, Commodore Charles Morris, who was a significant naval officer.
He's got a very interesting history. He went to sea at the age of 15 in 1799 and is immediately made a midshipman. He served during the Barbary Wars, he served during the War of 1812, and most importantly, during the War of 1812, that battle between the Constitution and the Guerriere, he was the first lieutenant under Captain Isaac Hall, who was the ship's commander at that time.
He was the second highest-ranking active officer in the U.S. Navy, underscoring his long-standing contributions and prominence in naval history. The appraiser explained that the sword brought in was a US model 1852 naval officer's sword, a design still in use today. It was manufactured by the Ames Manufacturing Company, as confirmed by an etched mark on the ricasso and a clearly visible 1852 date. The appraiser also highlighted the sword's classic naval decorative elements.
The sword is decorated with the typical naval motifs. You've got the sea serpent on the quillin, the USN and a ribbon on the face of the guard. You've got the knots on the mounts, and you also have the sea serpent on the drag.
I love him.
The sword was in overall good condition, retaining some of its original gilt on the brass hilt and showing visible frosty etching, despite minor signs of oxidation and rust. Given its rarity, historical significance, and exceptional state, the appraiser stated that the sword would be worth.
If this sword were to be offered in a retail setting, we think the asking price for the sword would be in the neighborhood of $25,000.
Wow, it's amazing.
The guest proudly presented a set of 6 antique silver spoons that had been passed down through generations of her family.
I actually inherited them almost 20 years ago. It was on my mother's side. They got to my mother from her uncle Robert.
The appraiser confirmed that the spoons were marked Revere, supporting the attribution to Paul Revere. Each spoon was engraved with the initials AA on the downturned tips, initials that possibly connected the set to Anna Amory, a member of a prominent Boston family. The appraiser noted that Paul Revere's account books included numerous silver commissions for Anna Amory, many of which were marked with the same AA monogram style.
Much of which was marked with this same AA intersecting at the bottom. We'll date these right around 1796 because of the possible connection to the Anna Amory service.
He then offered a brief but rich history of Revere's career, explaining that Revere became one of Boston's most prolific and highly regarded silversmiths of the late 18th and early 19th centuries.
Paul Revere also came from a silversmithing family. His father, Paul Revere Sr., was a silversmith in his own right, and I believe died just before Paul could legally take over the business, so he had to apprentice for a little while.
His account books listed around 5,000 silver objects, making his surviving works both highly collectible and historically significant. The spoon size was considered relatively rare, further increasing the set's desirability among collectors. At auction, if the provenance were well publicized and the spoons offered alongside similarly significant historical items, the selling price would be
of like property and well publicized, we'd expect them to carry an auction estimate of $20,000 to $30,000.
Wow, really?
The guest presented 2 rare walnut woven benches, designed by renowned American furniture maker Sam Maloof. The appraiser provided background on Maloof, describing him as one of the major figures of 20th century American design.
Sam Maloof is certainly one of the A guys of 20th century design. There's no two ways about it. He started working about 1947, 1948 in Southern California. He's one of the few people to do wonderful craft furniture in Southern California.
Maloof was celebrated for producing well-constructed, refined furniture with minimal use of hardware. Rather than relying on screws or brackets, his work featured precise joinery and carefully selected wood. The appraiser noted the quality of the benches, highlighting signature Maloof characteristics such as sleek design, rich walnut wood, and meticulous craftsmanship.
They are incredible. You can see all the detail. So these are signed. Sam Maloof signed a lot of his furniture.
He emphasized that longer benches like these rarely appear on the market and are highly sought after by design enthusiasts and collectors alike. Due to their increasing rarity and popularity, the current replacement insurance value was determined to be.
Maloof's furniture has become very popular. For insurance purposes, I would value these at probably $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 a piece. These are great pieces. They're really rare.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
This historic dress was given to the guest's wife in the 1960s by a family friend of her mother. The appraiser revealed that the dress was even older than the couple had assumed. It dated to around 1798, placing it in the late 18th century.
This type of printing was very complicated, and so we as Americans, just a few decades after the Revolutionary War, we didn't have that skill and that infrastructure to make this type of multi-process printing, and so there is very good possibility the fabric at least comes from England.
The garment was identified as a rare example of an indigo-printed glazed cotton day dress made from an elaborate and high-quality textile for its time. The appraiser described the dress as being in remarkable condition for its age. Its glazed surface still retained some of its original subtle shine, and the bodice was lined with heavy linen, a practical feature meant to protect the outer fabric from body perspiration.
It has a pull drawstring tie at the top and one right at the bodice. And inside there's just a little opening. You can see there is a sort of a flap closure inside, just for modesty's sake.
One of the most telling indicators of the dress's age was its back structure, a tight triangular insert with extremely fine hand-sewn pleats that created a full sweeping silhouette.
This sort of nice sweep and fullness at the back is helping to date it to the very late 1790s.
Considering the piece a museum-quality artifact, the appraiser determined the insurance value to be.
For insurance purposes, you would have an insurance value of $15,000.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
The guest brought in an artwork he had inherited from his mother about 10 years earlier.
She would have bought this in either New York or Washington, D.C., and probably around 1982.
The piece was the work of Joseph E. Yoakum, an African-American artist born in 1891 in Missouri, with possible Native American ancestry.
And he, at an early age, ran away from home and joined the circus. And then we know very little about him. He ended up on Chicago's South Side having a storefront where he lived and created art.
His work is instantly recognizable for its flowing organic forms that avoid harsh lines or rigid structures. While representational, his landscapes possess an almost abstract expressionist quality. The artwork in question was created using ink and colored pencil on paper, Yoakum's typical medium. A particularly important and valuable feature of this piece was the label on the back, indicating it had been part of an exhibition at the Corcoran Gallery in Washington, D.C. during the early 1980s.
There is a label on the back of this, and the label is from the Corcoran Gallery.
Right, sure.
They were a very progressive gallery in Washington, D.C., and this was in a show.
The appraiser noted that while many of Yoakum's works have become less collectible due to surface yellowing from varnish, the particular piece had retained its original color. Taking into account the quality of the work, its excellent condition, and its exhibition history, the appraiser estimated the retail value to be.
So because of all these factors, including the recent MoMA show, I'm very comfortable valuing this in a retail setting somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000.
Holy smokes. Huh.